Hey, everybody. Welcome back to this episode of Mirror Mirror. I am your host, Kimberly Washington, and I'm so excited to have you guys with us today. I have something special for y'all today. This is a special edition of Mirror Mirror. This is the Author's Corner, where I have the privilege of speaking to a new author today. I have Dr. Bree Charles, who is the author of The Big Take Back. A lot of times we have the book, but we don't have the privilege of speaking to the author. And today we have that privilege. So help me welcome Dr. Bree Charles to Mirror Mirror. Hey, Dr. Bree.
Hi, Kimberly. How are you?
Good, and welcome to Mirror Mirror.
Thank you. Thank you. The pleasure is all mine. I'm super excited about being here. So thank you.
You are so welcome. So before we dive into it, would you just please introduce yourself to people that may not know you?
Yes. Okay. Once again, I'm Dr. Bree Charles. I am a retired U.S. Army veteran. I am the author of The Big Take Back, What I Left Behind. And I'm also the founder of B3U, Burn, Break, and Become Unstoppable Show. I also am a business entrepreneur. I own 3 businesses, and the other 2 are the House of Humanity, where I shelter homeless individuals, domestic violence victims, and just service in the community. And the third one would be Mela Whole Foods, where I go in underserved communities and get fresh food.
Ooh, I love that. A woman on the move.
I'm just a service to God's people in the community. I love being the servant. That's where my heart is.
Okay, I love that. I love to service people as well. I feel like a lot of times people don't get the things that they need because there's such a you know I guess I'll say it like this. The harvest is ripe, but the laborers are few.
Yes.
There's nobody to really, do it. Or sometimes people have the desire and don't know how to do it or where to start. And it was like that for me when I wrote my first book. I didn't know where to start. I didn't know what to say. I just knew I had something in me that I needed to get out. I started
Yes.
journaling initially, and I'm like, nah, this is a book that I feel like God is calling me to write. And it was so scary for me because when I wrote the book, I felt like I had put such intimate details of my life. And as soon as I released the book, I felt grief because I was so vulnerable. And it was like, I'm not pretty sure how people are going to receive this, but I found solace in knowing that I was obedient. So we talk about the big take back. What inspired you to write this book?
What inspired me to write this book, and particularly this book, I spent years journaling, and I was planning on writing a memoir, right?
Mm-hmm.
And I spent years and years on doing that. I've read other memoirs like Becoming, um, Viola Davis's book, Whoopi Goldberg. So I was looking at all of these other memoirs, and I was like, well, I started to get further in my craft of speaking, and just was like, look, this message, I want to spread this message and my story to everyone, right? And I'm
Mm-hmm.
trying to create this thick, big old book about my story and what happened to me until I realized, like, hey, Brie, you're not, Michelle Obama. You're not Viola Davis. They're already famous people. So, of course, people already know them. Nobody knows who Brie is, right? So I said, you know what? I don't want this to just be my personal story because everyone has a personal story and nobody's going to be really interested unless you're already famous already. So I said, I said, I want this book to be more of my story, but how I got out of it or how I get through it, should I say, because I'm not out of it, but I still push through it. So
Mm-hmm.
I said, I just my mind started going, and I said, the big take back. The big take, because it's time for us to take back what was stolen, given what some of us gave it away. I said, the big take back what I left behind. I said, okay, I want it to be more of a teaching than just telling my story. I want to guide people. I want to help people get through their traumas and their trials and tribulations. So that's how the book, because I know what it feels like to carry pain and to carry so many identities while you're masking and silencing yourself and drowning in your own troubles.
Yeah.
So I wanted everybody to, find, give them that guide. So that's how the big take back, what I left behind, came about. I just took that big old memoir I was writing and shortened it. I kind of compacted. And it's a book that's straight to the point. It tells you a little bit about my life, and then it goes right into telling you what I left behind.
Yeah. The name itself, is definitely an attention grabber. It's like the big take back. What am I taking back? And sometimes we don't know what we left behind.
Mm-hmm. Or give away. We don't know that we give it away either.
We don't know. And I have a class that I'm teaching on Monday nights, and the second week we discussed trauma.
Mm-hmm.
And I came from the perspective of the trauma that we didn't cause, but we came into agreement with.
Right.
So was there a moment in your life where you were on the other end of that trauma, you received it, but it wasn't your fault, you didn't cause it? Was any of those moments times where you said, I left something that I have to go get because this has happened to me?
Right. I'm so glad that you touched on this, Kimberly, because a lot of us do this, right? We, in my book, it talks about this very thing, how we just adapt to certain things that were not ours to carry in the first place. But because we become so conditioned, as a young child, as a young child, a young adult, serving in the military, I became so conditioned to just taking what was given and just silencing myself or hiding it and say, you know what, I'll just I'll make it through, or focus on someone else's problem, while taking all the other issues on myself.
Mm-hmm.
And in my book, it took me 53 years. Okay, I'll say 53. So I will even back that up. Okay, because in my book I explained that my trauma didn't start to really like the age of 10. So I'll say about 40 years. It took me 40 years. Okay, 45 years. 45 because I'm 55. Look, I'm trying to do the math. But about 45 years, I just had to, it took a serious event to realize that I needed help. And it was when my nephew committed suicide. I said, I can't take it anymore. I just trying to deal with fear and maneuver with fear. And it's like, where did this fear come from? Why can't I get back to the little girl or the person that I used to be, right? We all do that when we get in the trauma. We want to go back. We want the person back that we used to be.
Yeah.
And, just screaming on the inside, and that was just like, I just knew that I had to get some help before it was too late for me. So when I went through that intensive trauma care PTSD clinic, okay, it's intense therapy.
Mm-hmm.
There is where I realized that my trauma just didn't start in the military. It started prior to the military. It started prior to my adulthood. It started prior to my teenage years. It started as a youth. And I became so used to being fearful that I forgot what being being free was.
Yes.
So that's when I learned that, you know what, I'm taking all of that back. At 45 years, I'm taking it all back. And I'm not going to say I'm perfect till this day, because sometimes I still get trapped in that well, not trapped, but I recognize
Yeah.
that.
Awareness.
Yes, yes, that, and that's what it is. More,
Yeah.
I'm glad you said that. I'm more aware now of what's going on right there. What's
Right.
going on in this moment? And then I say, "Oh no. Oh, give me that back. Give me that right on back because I'm not giving it up. I'm not giving up my peace. I'm not giving up my identity. And the biggest thing is I'm not giving up my voice." So, yes, I have been in many of those situations.
So before you showed up as this version of yourself, and after the trauma, there was a space in the middle. When you don't address the trauma that has happened to you kind of live your life from the perspective of what happened to you. Like for me, I took on my experiences as my identity. So everything that happened to me, I thought it was, it was a part of me, but it wasn't who I was. So can you tell me, like, how did you show up as a woman? What are some things that you used to do as a woman who hadn't dealt with her trauma before you learned, the idea of the big take back?
So I'm gonna ask you to repeat that one more time. What? Say that one
So,
more time, Kimberly. I'm sorry.
so a lot of times as women, when we have unresolved trauma,
Yes,
we show up as an expired version of ourselves because we're still trying to protect what happened to us,
masking.
masking.
Hmm.
So before you learn the idea of the big take back, how did you show up as a woman in the world with unresolved trauma?
I showed up as I'm okay. I showed up as the strong one, the problem solver. Okay, I'm that friend. I'm that big sister. That's how I showed up. I showed up with. Matter of fact, I want to share something with you. Can I share something with you
Of
real quick?
course.
Okay, because I left. I have to get up though. I'm glad.
Okay.
Can we pause it? I'm sorry.
Go ahead.
I should have worn. Okay, I'll be right back. Okay, I want to share something with you, right?
Okay.
As I spoke about the PTSD clinic, right? It was in Chicago, and I made this mask, and we did an art project. And I had no idea about doing art. I went into this program because I was so disgruntled, right? I was so disgruntled, but I knew I needed help. It was like I was crying out for help because I couldn't mask anymore. So this was Bree on the outside. This was me. This was the mask that I had on. And some of the words are saying, I'm okay. Um, I give my all, you know, uh, I love everyone. I love everyone. And I hope you can't see me, right? Hope you can't see me. I'm wearing this beautiful mask, and on the inside, here is everything. Here's the chains on my mouth. Here are the graves that I'm carrying. I'm carrying disappointment. I'm carrying molestation. I'm carrying rape. I'm carrying beatings. Unworthy of myself. I'm confused. I'm carrying confusion because what did I do to deserve all of these things?
Right.
The fear of death. Death was just all around me. Being in the military, while I served, I lost so many family members. I lost soldiers. Death is everywhere. So I'm fearful. I'm fearing everything around me. Um, I'm silencing myself because who's listening? Nobody's listening. Nobody will understand. And then I'm avoiding. Okay. So I'm avoiding. And here is the true me on the inside, of what did I do? Like, what did I do to deserve this? What did I do? For the life of me, I can't understand where my life went wrong, right?
Mhm.
I want somebody to please love me, see me. Somebody see me. Somebody please see me and love me for who I am. I'm not worthy. Okay. I'm not worthy. Okay. I want them to see me. I won't tell. Like I won't tell. Just don't do anything. Don't say anything. Don't hurt me. It's not my fault. I won't tell. And then I just why and help me. I'll do better. I'll be a good girl and don't beat me. These were everything that I was carrying on the inside of this mask. When I did this project at the Rush home, and I really behind that mask, I came out, and that's when I said, I got to let it go. There was an analogy that one of the therapists did with me. We were standing in the room because I didn't do well in group. And sometimes when we're seeking mental health, group, you have to find what works for you in mental health. And I'm
Right.
sorry if I'm going all
No,
off.
no, we're you're good.
But we need to seek the kind of help that fits us.
Yes.
So I realized that, when it was group, I was just silent because I've been in mental health for a long time. I don't feel like hearing everybody else's story. It makes me angry. All of this is going on. But but I knew that I needed to be there.
Mm-hmm.
So my therapist, when we did our one-on-one, she gave me her lanyard to cord to it. And she stood on the other side and I held one side. And she said, now pretend that there's a big old canyon, like a big old drop, and I'm on the other side. And she started pulling it. And I started going forward. She said, well, what are you going to do to keep from falling in that hole? And I was like, oh, let go, back up. And so she gave it to me again, and she just started talking, and she was talking and pulling the cord, and I'm still falling forward. And I said, oh, wait a minute, let go. She did it a third time. She gave me the lanyard, and then my brain instantly, my mind kicked in to say, let it go. So that's how life is. That's how I deal with my avoidance and my masking now. Now that I realize where my trauma, where my pain came from, how I just would collect all of these things that I've learned over the years, how to just put that mask on, put on my big girl pants and say, it's okay. I'm just going to silence it, not talk about it. Now, for those who were born in the 70s, we all know that children were to be seen and not heard.
Absolutely.
That's the reason why I don't do that today.
Mm-hmm.
I want to see you and I want to hear you. Like, I'll hear you first. Okay. But growing up in that era, and then growing up like the way I did, silence was like a natural thing for me. Like, dust yourself off, you'll get over it. Back then and back in the day, they like to sweep stuff under the rug like it didn't happen. No. So I learned in that program, which was very good, I learned to walk in my truth, where my trauma came from. No one can take my identity from me. I will never be that person that I used to be, but this is who I am today, and can't nobody take that from me, because now I understand what the masking looks like, what certain traumas look like. And then when I feel that pull, I just let go. I just let go and I back up from it.
So as you were telling that story with the therapist, my mind went somewhere totally different, which confirms that we all deal with our trauma a little differently. So in my mind, as you were speaking, I'm on one side of the rope and the therapist is on the other side. And as she began to pull, you let go.
Mm-hmm.
But in my mind, I'm pulling back, just like the game of tug of war.
Uh-huh.
So, because I feel like when you get into those situations of trauma
Mm-hmm.
and unresolved trauma we didn't cause, trauma we came into agreement with, self-inflicted trauma, no matter what it is, at that point, it's like me against me.
Mm-hmm.
And which version of me is going to win?
Right.
Because the version of myself that I give permission is the one that gets to lead my life. So is it going to be the current version of me, or is it going to be the expired version of me? And so just learning how to let go is one thing, but when you were talking, it's like, oh no, I'm gonna win this, and that's how I take it back.
Mm-hmm.
Um, head on. But I also know in going back, there's a cost.
Yeah.
What is the cost of going to take your stuff back? What does that look like?
Well, so taking back your voice. So what it looks like, recently I just had, an incident where, within my family where it was like, my voice was trying to be taken from me again. And I felt myself like silencing myself, just letting it go, until I had to recognize what it was. And that's what I mean about letting go of when I feel like I'm getting ready to fall in that hole. What taking it back looks like is using my voice. Like I have a voice. And whether you want to recognize my trauma or my story, because whatever you may not be able to handle it or whatever it is, this is my story. This is my identity, my voice. It will be heard. I'm going to tell it whether you like it or not. So that's what taking back my voice looks like. Now, as far as fear, what does that look like? I always tell people you have to talk to yourself daily. You have to talk to yourself. Sometimes when you start talking to yourself, people be looking at you like, oh, something wrong with her. No, something is right with me because I'm talking out loud so I can hear myself say that no weapon formed against me shall prosper. God didn't mean for me to walk around in fear. Who are you that I should fear you? You are a man. you know God is who I fear, because I know if I don't do his will, his work, and his way, the seeds that I sow won't prosper. I so fear looks like me just talking out loud, saying no. I cannot continue to worry about death and not going outside my home, you know, making my children and grandchildren wear body armor when they go out the house. Fear can, not wanting to go out because I don't know what's going to happen, or picking up the phone late at night, making sure that children are breathing. And then they answer the phone. Mom, of course I'm breathing. Just answer the phone. Like, why are you calling me at this time of night?
Yeah.
So fear looks like me telling myself that I can't move forward if I constantly keep looking back. So now that says, when I'm talking out loud to myself, it's like, no, I'm good. This is not happening. My family is blessed. I'm praying out loud. My husband is a serious motorcycle rider, right? So he just did his 50th state ride for his 50th birthday. That bothered me so bad. But what I had to do is say, he's covered. He's covered in the blood of Jesus. So I know he's fine. Said it out loud, and I keep moving throughout my day. So that's what taking thing and my identity. I showed you my project. I'm not that person anymore. So I take back my identity. My identity is no longer that little girl, that little teenager, that young woman that I was in an abusive marriage for 17 years. That's not me anymore. That's not me anymore. I am someone new and improved and better. Even though I still have my flaws, I take back my identity of being a prosperous woman of God.
Okay. Prosperous woman of God. I love that. Um, so if somebody was watching and felt like, I don't know, I went through a whole lot, and for me to go and take something back, I just don't see the opportunity or the possibility in that. What would you tell her? How would she go go back to that little girl in the room, who feels alone, feels abandoned, or, somebody that was violated? How does she go back and pay homage to that little girl and say thank you for, protecting us, helping us survive? But as a woman, you know, I have to let all this go. How does she do that?
My famous things, my double D's, right? As women, right? Double D's. Decision and determination. I would say, sis, it's not an easy road. Nothing is easy. But we have to first make a decision, and that's what it speaks about in my book. We just have, they say, faith without a faith of a mustard seed, right? Faith of a mustard seed will get you through. You just have to make that decision, because again, that's fear. Okay, that's fear, and you have to say, I make this decision that I want better, and you have to start searching for that. What does that look like for me? Make that decision to make that change, and then be determined to carry it out, determined that you don't want to, you have to let that little girl go. Okay, or you have to break that little girl free. I won't say that I left little Bree behind. I will say that I brought her with me and showed her that you are powerful. You are wonderfully made. You are a child of God. If God is within me, then why do I think that I'm stoppable? I'm unstoppable. So
Yeah.
that's the whole framework of B3U is burning, break, and become unstoppable. Burn through the fears, the things of the past, burn it, break through, get around people. You can't want to be a millionaire, right? And sitting around people who make a couple of dollars. If you want to be a millionaire, sit around millionaires, get around millionaires. If you want to be powerful, get around some powerful women, because this is a thing that I don't like. Like, I used to say it myself too. Oh, I can't deal with a whole bunch of women. I can't deal with females. They too this, they too messy, they too this. But my thing is this: Stop saying it. Get around the right women. Not every woman is the same. There are some women who are, look, I have met a woman, and I always talk about this woman. She probably doesn't even know it. I met a woman who builds ships. I said, build ships? Like, oh my God, like a woman building ships, that's like not really heard of.
Mm-hmm.
And then when you start getting out there and you want to seek better because you want better, you will find what you're looking for if you're looking in the right places. Get around people, because I want to build something great. I want to reach people globally. I don't that's another thing about my speaking, me writing a book. This all started because I was great with speaking in the military. I was great with speaking in my inner circle. But when you make that decision first to let God in and let him speak to you, and what is my purpose? Because I don't know. God, show me the purpose. If you don't know where to go, first start talking to him. Make that decision to ask him for help, and he will guide you. He will lead you. So that's what it was for me. I was just like, I just don't know what to do. God started to show me my purpose by dropping little breadcrumbs, right? But you got to be open and know what you're looking for, know what you're hearing, to know that it's the word of God, and say, okay, God, this is what you're telling me to do, and follow that and keep on that. It's just so much that I could say about that question right there, but I'll just shorten it and say it's all about a decision and determination, and getting in the room, getting your seat at the table, or creating your own table. But however you have to do it, do it. Do it, and just break that fear, talk to yourself out loud, and keep pushing. That's what I would tell her.
So you mentioned, thank you for that. So you mentioned that you are now a woman of purpose, a prosperous woman, and you're determined not to go back to the place that broke you. And sometimes when things come up, you talk to yourself and you say, I'm not going back there.
Yeah.
So did that play a part in Dr. Bree? Like, tell me where that came from. How did you choose the career path you chose?
My God. Um, that this is a real tough question. It's not a tough question, but when I think about it, I had no idea that I would be sitting here today as Dr. Bridget Charles. Had no clue.
Mm-hmm.
Sometimes it's so unreal to me. It's like, is this happening? You know, but when, and I get emotional, when you take your eyes off a man and you put your eyes on God, whatever or whoever you believe in, or whatever you believe in, you have to believe in something. And you stop looking at what happened to you and start looking like, how can I make it better?
Mm-hmm.
Things will start to line up. I am a veteran with PTSD. I am a stroke survivor. Okay. I have uh, brain injuries. Okay, I'm not like it takes me a minute to say, hey, can you just say that one more time? I used to be afraid. I had to have accessibility to finish my bachelor's degree. I needed that extra time. I had to repeat things. I needed things repeated to me. I used to be scared, ashamed, you know, but I'm proud to say that I finished that bachelor's degree. I
Mm-hmm.
kept going in the things that I wanted to do in my life. I heard the word of God says, stop trying to save the people that you can't save. They're in my hands. Do something that you can do. And he dropped those breadcrumbs. So my whole world revolves around servicing people in need, underserved communities, helping out my sister or my brother get to the next step in their life. 3 deployments, soldiers lost, all of that. I began to put my focus somewhere else. And because I did that, someone saw my works. Okay. I kept my eyes focused on God and the purpose that He set in front of me because of all that I felt like I was losing.
Mm-hmm.
Someone saw what I was doing in the community, how hard I worked, everything I'd done, my whole bio and everything, my credentials of what I'd done in the military. And I was awarded and honored with the doctoral degree in humanitarianism.
Oh, that is amazing. That's amazing. And one of the things that I love that you said is
Mhm.
when you take your eyes off man and
Yeah.
you focus on God and in your path and the purpose that he's, placed inside of you, and you walk your own walk,
Yes.
your blessings overtake you.
Yes.
And I absolutely love that. And this is a story of him being a redeemer,
Yes.
and there's recompense when it comes to God paying you back for the things that you have been through. Um, and I feel like giving advice to somebody was very good. Determination and decision, that's amazing. You also got to know that it wasn't your fault and that's not who you are. Give yourself some grace.
Grace. Yes.
Give yourself some grace. I love everything about your story. I love your philosophy on the big take back, going back and taking back what's yours, what was stolen, what you gave away. So now that you got your stuff back, what you doing with
Protecting my peace.
it?
Protecting my peace. I don't want to sit and say that it's all peachy and creamy, like life is just good now. That I would be fabricating a real big lie if I said that. Every day is still challenges for me because the more God gives you, it seems like the greater that the heartache, the heartbreak, and the headache. So what I do is I protect my peace. I set boundaries to keep my peace,
Absolutely.
and I keep it moving from there. Truly, Kimberly, and I want your audience and the audience to just know, like, it's hard work. It's hard work, daily hard work when you are someone who's suffering from trauma, mental health, when you have been so abused your entire life. It's hard. It's a daily thing. It's daily maintenance.
Yes.
It's just like anything, a car, your home. You have to take care of it. You have to put the roof. You have to make sure that you put your roof is good so the inside could stay dry.
Absolutely.
You know,
It's the
that's what it is with yourself.
absolutely the daily check-ins,
Daily,
the
yes,
daily self-care, you making sure that you're choosing yourself in
yeah.
every situation, doing a self-assessment and a self-appraisal to make sure you have the capacity. Can you lend me some money? I'm sorry, I don't have it to give at this time. Can you pick me up and give me a ride? I'm sorry, I don't have time. Like
Mhm.
learning to say no. What are your non-negotiables? And to be honest, I'm just now getting back to that point. A lot of times when life happens, even though, and if I could be completely honest, I've taken my stuff back,
Mhm.
but life still happens.
Right.
And it's like being planted in such a way and making sure your roots are in the ground that every time something happens, whether it's trauma or something big or small, it doesn't always set you back. You
Yes.
don't have to always reset. And so that's kind of, where I've been. I'm like, okay, Kimberly, you don't deal with this anymore. So those daily check-ins are so important because I recently learned that even though I'm on this healing journey, I was still in survival mode
Yes. Oh gosh.
because it was like I may not deal with shrinking anymore, but I didn't realize that adapting could still keep you in survival mode,
Yes.
and fear keeps you in survival mode. So I
Yeah.
may not deal with rejection as much as I used to, but then here's fear. So I feel like healing is ongoing. When you mastered one thing or one level, you're a novice on the next, and it's like you still have to learn, you still have to pour into you, and you still have to be honest. You have to have an honest conversation with yourself to say, hey, I'm not where I think I am, and I'm really struggling in this area. And I think that is okay to have those daily check-ins with yourself.
Yeah,
If
because some of us were taught to some of us learned how to be in that survival mode so long, we forget how to live.
Yeah.
We
Or we
forget
never knew how to live.
how to live.
All we knew
It's,
was how to
it's
survive.
survive. That's everything that my book talks about. And
Yep.
I in my book you'll find how to recognize with survival and how to get through that. That's all about taking it back. That's all about taking it back
Yeah.
and what you're leaving behind. you know
But so in your book, do you let me ask you like this. So, how many times did you have to go back?
how many times that I had to go back
Yes.
before I completely took it back? And well, now that I'm aware,
Yeah.
a few times, Kim. Too many to count. That's why I tell young people to hold on. I still minister to young people. I go live every Tuesday and Thursday on my channel, and I try to guide people on how to take it back. So I also try to tell young people like to hold on, like hold on. The trials and tribulations, the things that you go through are foundations. They're building blocks. They're stepping you up to walk into into your purpose, who God called you to be. So go ahead, take those lessons, take
Yeah.
those setbacks. Okay, because those setbacks going to be get backs. Okay, because I'm going to get back what God, said that
Yeah.
is for me. What God has for you, no man can take.
Yeah.
So I would just go ahead and say that those I took it back quite a few times until I would, walked into my awareness that this is mine and it's mine to keep. And now I know how to keep it. And sometimes people may come to steal it, but that's what the boundaries is for. you
And
know.
and that's true. I had to learn how to set boundaries for myself. And I went back a couple times. And sometimes I went back and I came out with nothing because I realized that that wasn't mine to begin with. That was a persona that someone told me I should be,
Yes.
like that wasn't the real me. So when you go back, you kind of have to make sure that you're sorting through the things and taking what's only yours and not the things that you thought belonged to you as well. Because a lot of the stuff we're going back for is not ours.
That's right.
we
That's
you
right.
we taking it on, but it wasn't, it's not ours. And that's, I think that goes back into, what I initially said about the trauma we come into agreement with. It happened to us, that, but that's not who we are. So when we go back, you got to make sure that you taking back what's yours and it don't belong to somebody
That's right.
else.
The right identity,
The
not
right,
somebody else's identity.
right, or something that somebody said I was, or
Right.
something that somebody gave me that wasn't mine.
Or
So I,
somebody that you don't want to be.
yeah,
For me, being labeled as homicidal, suicidal, I didn't want that. I didn't want to be looked at like that. That's not who I am. I don't want to hurt anybody. So what do I need to do to keep my mental health straight so I don't be labeled?
yeah,
And you can't carry self carry because you're labeled as homicidal. You don't. Like, I don't want that identity. So you
yeah,
can keep that.
yeah. I'm
So yeah,
not taking.
you have to have the right identity.
Yeah, I'm not taking that on. And I mean, that's just like somebody coming and having a bad day and you ask them a question and they just blow up and go off on you. And you could in that moment go back off on them because you may have that right. But what I'm learning is I don't have to respond like you because I don't have an issue. So what I do is I'll let you keep that. Nope, that don't belong to me. I'm gonna let you keep that. You can take that somewhere else, and I'm gonna move forward. So just learning how to choose me, and even responding and showing up in a way that's pleasing to God, but also representing the authentic version of Kimberly. And I think that, when we start looking at life from the lens of who am I and and even if you don't know, what is it that I need to do to work on me? Because I can't worry about what she's doing over there in her lane or what she has on her plate. I just have to focus on me. And when we get more serious about who it is that we are or who it is that we need to become, I think then that would definitely shed some light on going back and taking back what's ours. So,
I agree. I
any
100%
this
agree.
conversation has been so good. Any final thoughts? I'm gonna let you have the final thoughts, maybe looking to speak to a woman who said, "Hey, I've tried it. I went back to try to take my stuff back and it's not working for me. I made the decision to go back. I was determined to get my stuff back, but every time I come out, I'm empty-handed. What? And I ain't going back no more." So, can you speak to that woman and what advice would you give her?
Well, I would say, and I'm trying to put this in the perspective of a real person because I've been that person.
Mhm.
I've just had a conversation with that's a similar person just like that. And again, I will say to get back up. If first you don't succeed, if second you don't succeed, if third, fourth, fifth, sixth, seventh, eighth, you don't succeed, try and try again. Everything is in God's timing. What again, I talk to a lot of people who say they gave up on God. They don't believe in God, right? But
Mhm.
I will still say everything is in his timing. You can't give up on something. If I want people to look at me as their example. There's so many stories and so many things that I could tell people. And again, I mentioned, because I'm about transparency, I was suicidal at first. Imagine if I would have gave up 10 years ago. I wouldn't be sitting here today. you know, Imagine if I would have given up 20 years ago. Being that young, married, in abusive relationship. And just said, I tried and I tried. And I got out of that, made the decision to get out of that. And it just seems like, my value, I wasn't loved. I'm tired. Men just see me as, I was just telling a young lady, I felt like I had a sign on my forehead that said, "The married man's dream. Lie to me and I'll be okay." I don't know how many times I fell into that realm. Like it was just something on my forehead. And one young woman, she said, "Well, I feel like I got a sign on my head that says abuse me. Like I love the narcissist, you know?"
Yeah.
And I said, don't, again, you can't just give up and say, "Oh, I'm done. I ain't never get married again. I'm not going to have girlfriends no more. I'm not going to go out here and try for this job." No, no. If we give up like that, again, everything, look at it as a building block. This happened. Okay, it's over. I'm going to put that brick down. Let me start building the next layer to my home, to my house, to my sanity,
Yeah.
to my purpose. You have to keep taking whatever comes your way and keep building on it. You have to keep building on it and just take everything as a brick and keep laying that brick down. Because if you give out, you'll be incomplete. You will be forever incomplete.
Yeah.
And nothing in life, well, there is always going to be trials. There's always going to be, without light, there will be no darkness. So you have to have balancement in your life to say that, hey, I have to keep going because there's a greater purpose. If I just stop right here, that's it.
Yeah.
And especially if you have people that care for you, family, children, friends. Sometimes friends can be better than family. You have to get around people to empower you. If you are saying to yourself, "I've never been there, I've done that." Again, get underneath people who are going to empower you, encourage you. And that's what I do on B3U. I am dedicated to empower. I'm going to encourage. I don't care if it's one viewer. I don't care if it's two. I don't care if it's none at all. Somebody's going to come across this show and get exactly what they need.
Yeah.
And I'm not going, and that's the other thing. If I was to just give up now, even into today's, right now, what I'm doing right now, oh, I'm just gonna give up. Nobody's listening or nobody's this. Then it's that one person who is like right there on the edge and says, "I can't do it no more." And they're just scrolling, or maybe they're getting ready to scroll to write something to the world on Facebook.
Yeah.
And how they're about to take their life, and they come across Dr. Bree Charles that's saying this exact same thing right here today, and hear my voice and say, "You know what? I'm gonna listen to what she says and give it one more chance." If I was to stop, then I wouldn't be able to save that person.
Right.
So that's why I will say to that person, you got to keep going, even when you don't feel like it. And when you feel like you're alone, remember you're not alone. Because for a long time, I thought I was alone, but I realized now that when I look back sometimes, Kimberly, I cry because it's like, God, you were there the whole time.
The whole time.
I'd be like, how my children said, and I'm the mother of five and blended family of 9. And out of my 5 children right now are the only ones with children. I have 18 grandchildren, 18. I am about breaking cycles and building legacies.
Yes.
Breaking those cycles that once just kept going around and around and around. I don't do that. That's why I said children should be seen, not heard, not in this house. I want to, what's on your mind? Talk to me. And I still am that true original Black parent grandmother now. Because you gotta have to grip you up a little bit. I'm not going to do the soft parenting too much with you, but I want to hear what you have to say.
Yeah.
Let me hear your voice, speak your mind, and then guide you in the direction that you need to go. And always teach them that you can't do nothing without God. Because in my youthful, my grandmother is the one who, and I thank God for her, she's the one who set me on a path to know to fall back on God each and every time. And that's what I teach to my grandchildren and my children. Like, you can't do nothing without him. And whenever you fall short and you can't do no more, fall back on him. So
Yeah.
that's what I want to say to people. Like, you're not alone. You're not alone. There are so many people going through the same things that you are. Get underneath that umbrella for somebody to, cover you, pray for you. If you can't pray for yourself, get somebody who can. There are people who are praying for me right now. You know what I'm saying? And I couldn't do without those prayers. So
Yeah.
that's what I would say. That's what I would say to somebody who says,
Yeah. And I think that of course, God, and I'm learning how to be proactive and not reactive in my relationship with him and putting him first. Because if you just listen, a lot of things we can avoid. But community is so important because when I embarked on my healing journey, I was one of the ones that had went back and went back and went back and kept coming up empty-handed. But when I found my tribe, when I got into a community of women who was kind of on the same journey. We wasn't growing, at the same rate, but we were definitely going in the same direction. And that was a game changer for me. So community is very, very important.
yes.
So thank you, Dr. Bree, for gracing the stage with us today,
Oh
and
my
just kind
God.
of and kind of us giving us insight about the Big Take Back. Where can they find it? Where can they purchase the Big Take Back?
You can purchase it on www.b3unstoppable.net. Everything, my all my social media platforms are there. The book is there. I'm doing a free summit on August 22nd. Uh,
Mm-hmm.
and it's the Take Back Summit, and we are reclaiming back the man. We are the man. I'm not going to say the minority man. So it's the Take Back Summit, and it's a men's summit, and then
Okay.
I'm going to be on the breakout with women, and we are calling that breakout Partners in Purpose, because it said we have to, get back to, holding up our men. And I don't want to just say the black man, but the minority man, the man in the struggle.
Yeah.
We build better men, we build better communities. We show our women how we support them and what that looks like. Again, better families and better communities. So I'm doing that on August 22nd. You can find all of this information on my website. Again, it's www.b3unstoppable.net.
Thank you so much, and we'll put all your information under this uh under this post. So I just want to thank everybody for tuning in to Mirror Mirror. This has been a great time. Is like I said before, it's not often we get to pick the brain of the author and the woman behind the story. So we just appreciate you, and we thank you for all your wisdom and your insight. This has been a great, great show, and I look forward to speaking with you again. As I always say on Mirror Mirror, the mirror is not reflective. It's not just reflective, it's also healing. So if you can see yourself, you can free yourself. I'm Kimberly Washington, and I will see y'all when I see y'all. Bye.